The national champion is clad in big orange.
The pitch. Swing and a miss. That's the ball game. The national champion is clad in big orange.
At Summit and Destiny have met 7 times before. Tonight is number 8.
Tennessee Volunteers have wrapped up an SEC outright regular season title. Connect with
the SEC runs through Rocky Top. Tennessee wins the SEC regular season crown for the 2nd consecutive season.
the 1-0. In the air, right center field. Ross on the move. Ross get there. Tennessee walks it off. It's a mismatch. Deep three. Come on now. And don't connect. Robbie Draghi this time. Indeed. New hand jam. Down the middle. Got it. On the fly. It's high and again. And he's going to take it. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Hey, how much fun is this?
Man, Rocky Top. This is college football and it's absolute best.
Yes, sir. You're muted. Hello?
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Yeah, muted during the video. This college athletics has absolute best, man. What a weekend. What a week for Tennessee sports this past week is, baseball, softball doing everything. Tennessee men's basketball going 2-0, including that huge victory over Alabama. Unfortunately, Lady Vols kind of fell a little bit short this week, but you know what? Still a fantastic week of Tennessee sports. I'm Michael, my co-host Skylar. Skylar, man, no, you're not feeling the greatest, but how we doing right now?
Oh, dude, we're pushing through. I mean, how can you not be feeling pretty good after the way the basketball team executed over the weekend, beating Bama? That was nobody better, by the way, to make the shot there at the end of the game. Jemima Ashak, one of the best dudes you'll ever meet on and off the court. Getting a little criticism for, obviously his offensive play. Nobody ever will criticize the way he plays defense, but way to shut up the naysayers, kid. I mean, that is just the way that's the way you come back. I mean, that's the way you respond. And he did it in a big way. And the way he pimped that after he made it. I mean, I'm telling you what, man, especially after, if you watch the game, you know what I'm about to say, especially after Mark Sears gave that mean little mug look after he made his 3 with about a minute and a half to go. It was good to return the favor, man, especially in the game when you really thought the game was gone. I mean, we were fouling. We were down by 4. We have a turnover. And at that point, we'll get into it. I'm sorry. I'm just excited. It was a great game. Nobody better to make the shot.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So before we get into all this, would you like to give us our presenting show sponsor?
Yeah, man. It is Chris Smith Insurance. As a homeowner, Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company. So he started one of his own, where instead of feeling like a big company is fighting against you, you'll know that your agent is fighting for you. All insurance is not equal. Trust the Chris Smith Insurance today. Give him a call at 865-272-3387 right there in Oak Ridge. Again, guys, Chris is not just the agent that's going to find you the best coverage, but also the best rates. And if you do have to make that phone call, he is going to be there at your doorstep for every step of the way. And that was right off the cuff, dude. I'll be honest with you. Did not have that pulled up, so I'm pretty proud of myself. Yeah, that's how much we say it, bro. We got it memorized up in here. So, no, you want to give us the 3 segments that we're going to be talking about today? Kind of give us a rundown before we get talking about some ball, man.
Yeah, so 3 segments today. We will start off with the Lady Vols basketball. I know we want to talk about the men so bad, but let's talk about the women's. They also have the SEC tournament coming up this week. We're going to talk about them first. Then we will hop on over to the men's side of things in segment 2. And in segment 3, we've got Tennessee football season recap. And to go along with that, we'll kind of give an update on kind of the NFL draft. A couple of Tennessee guys putting up some big numbers on the NFL draft, trying to make a name for themselves in the pros, and then just briefly talk about this past week, baseball and softball. as they had huge weeks, huge weekends. But before we get into all that, before we talk about Lady Vols basketball, I will give you our segment one sponsor, which is Optimal Asbestos Services. Optimal Asbestos Services offers detailed asbestos inspections and air quality assessments. Whether you're looking to secure your home or workplace, you can trust Optimal Asbestos Services to deliver thorough and reliable solutions. You can contact Jeff Mull at 865-223-3297 for your consultation today, or go on the web at optimalasbestosservices.com. And, Skylar, that one was not off the cuff because, as I've mentioned before, Jeff Mull reached out to us about updating his ad read, and any of our other sponsors. If you would like to update your ad read, you can send us an email and we will get that new ad read up for you. But Skylar, Lady Vols basketball this past week, not too good. And it started off with just an absolute embarrassing, and I mean embarrassing effort against Kentucky in Lexington. Credit to Kentucky, though. They played a really good game. They did exactly what they needed to. You see 5 of 21 there from the three-point line. It didn't matter. They were taller than Tennessee was. They took advantage on the glass, out-rebounding Tennessee by 21 on the glass.
Mm-hmm.
And then went 9 of 10 from the free throw line. It was never in doubt for Kentucky. I think they jumped out, 8-0 or something like that to start the game, and then just never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, in a game where you really only had one Lady Vol that looked like they wanted to be there, and that was Talia Cooper going 11 to 22 from the field. She had 25 points, and your next best scorer was Samara Spencer with 8, and she had to go 3 of 8 to get those 8. Look, it's just a bad night. I mean, this was something that you can't have this late in the season, and they didn't respond whatsoever. I mean, they got punched in the mouth early and never tried to even make a push to come back. So this was ugly from the start. But you're gonna have that, right? It's basketball. I mean, the men's did it against Florida, lost by 30 on the road. I'm not gonna sit here and act like it doesn't happen, but I think the timing of it. I mean, you had a 3 seed on the line for the tournament, and now you put yourself in jeopardy of not even hosting. And so it's one of those things where I don't know, man. Maybe it's just Kentucky basketball owns Tennessee this year. I hate to say that, but dude, like on the men's and the women's side of things, they've really, really, really taken it to us this year. It's not fun to say that, but you can't deny it whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean that's the truth. But you kind of mentioned it that you're gonna have your off nights. But the thing that makes this one hurt, and we'll get into the Georgia game here in just a few minutes, but what makes these two games hurt even more is this is the time of year where you're supposed to be finding your stride and getting hot for March. Did the Lady Vols hit their stride too early, and now we're seeing a bit of a downfall? I mean, I don't know, but it kind of seems that way because in this game, Talia Cooper had 25, but it was on 22 shots, and she was the only Lady Vol in double figures in this game. I mean, it was just not a good effort. And then when you've had 4 players for Kentucky basically getting all their points, and Strack she literally could not miss.
Yeah.
11 for 11 from the field in the game, and then 1 of 1 from she was 1 of 1 from the 3-point line in the game. Tamari Key's sister, I don't have her first name pulled up. Tourney, 18 points, 8 of 13 from the field. And then Amore, she was 50% from the field, 7 of 14, another 18 points. I mean, it was just complete domination for Kentucky, and they hit shots. Tennessee didn't. But, I mean, I already said the biggest stat that stands out to me is the rebound numbers. Tennessee's done a great job this year of, even though they're undersized most games, of winning the rebound battle, especially on the offensive glass. And in this game, you got out-rebounded 52-13. Offensive glass, it was 15-15, but the defensive glass, 37-16, you got out-rebounded.
I mean, giving up 52 rebounds in a game is, I mean, that's absurd. But I mean, this was a mismatch from start to beginning. I mean,
it was.
I think Kentucky knew that and they exposed it. They didn't honestly shoot the ball well from 3. They were, I think, 23%. Kentucky was from 3, and it's right there on the graphic actually, 5 of 21. But we were worse in that. We were worse in almost, I think, we were worse in every single statistical category in this ball game, and the scoreboard shows that. I mean, it was atrocious. It was hard to watch. I think you only had 9 points in the first quarter. It just when I thought you couldn't play any worse, and honestly, they found a way. But no, I mean it is what it is. It's one of those games where it was a bad night. What can Kim Caldwell do to make sure that this loss doesn't turn into 2 losses, right? So I was really eager to see how they handled this, and obviously they didn't handle it too well, in my opinion. I agree with you. They didn't finish the season strong at all. I don't know if they really necessarily hit their stride too soon, because I still don't feel like we've seen them hit their stride. But then they have a showing like this, and it's just like, man, what was this? But I'm gonna tip my hat to Kentucky. They seen the mismatch. They executed their offensive and defensive game plan to perfection there. And then for the Lady Vols, you just got to find a way to adjust. I think they did a poor job of doing that. And again, Kim Caldwell's system, when you substitute the way she does, I feel like that's when you really see it hurt. When you've got a team that's not even in rhythm, and then you take them out before they even have a chance to get in the rhythm. And that's where you start to see how it's almost like they never got into rhythm. And so I was kind of wondering how that would work. And obviously in this situation, it didn't work out too well, but this is one game out of about 30. It is what it is. But
and you said it right there. So I tweeted out after the game, I said, the one positive thing, I didn't say positive. I said the one thing I can take away from this game is this should be a one-off. We have not seen a Lady Vols team play this bad all season long. So I really think that they can turn it around and, come back out and play well against Georgia. And I'm not too worried about it, was basically what I said on Twitter. I should have been worried about it. As I'm going to pull this one away, pull this one up. Lady Vols get beat by a bad, and I mean a bad Georgia team yesterday in the Food City Center, where they only led one time in the game, and it was with about 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, and just could not hang on at that point.
This one I have no words for. It was 18-2. It was like 18-2 with like 3 minutes left to go in the first quarter.
Look, they did not score. Tennessee did not score until the 3-minute mark of the first quarter.
This was atrocious. This was at home.
Yep.
And I don't really have much to say on this one. This was bad. This was bad. Now, obviously, you could look at Georgia and say, man, they were just shooting it hot. I mean, yeah, sure. Sure, maybe. But they only took 12 threes. Sure, they were 60% from three, but overall, they were still only 46%. You were just that atrocious on offense. That's all it was. Honestly, defense wasn't that great, but Lady Vols defense has not really been known for their defensive play this year with how fast they play. I mean, this is a game I have no words for. I'm not even going to say so much on the line, but you were still playing for dignity, for home field, right? In the, a 4 seed, you get the host the first 2 rounds in the tournament. And in this game, and I would not be surprised. We've seen the Lady Vols drop to, I think, 18th in the country now. 18th. You do the math. That's outside of 4 seed. That means that they literally, in the last week of the season, just played themselves from a 3 seed to not even hosting the first 2 rounds of the tournament, all because of the way they finished the year. I mean, this is atrocious. I mean, I hate to sound like I'm kind of blowing things out of proportion here, but this was terrible. I don't even know how to sugarcoat it. Hey, this was bad on all accounts. Your best player gets hurt on a simple jump shot. I mean, not even charging. She just jumped and came down on her ankle wrong. You lost her for the entire second half, probably even more than that. It looked to me like a high ankle sprain the way it rolled over. I mean, this was just bad. Bad on bad on bad. I mean, this was I don't know, Michael. Can you find anything in this? Yes, they came back from 23 points down. But one, you didn't finish, and 2, you should have never been down 23 to begin with. This was terrible. This is not like you were playing LSU, right? Where, yeah, sure, maybe a slow start's valid because it's a good team. This wasn't even a good team. Dude, it's terrible. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, the one takeaway I will say from this, Hey, you hit your free throws. You hit your free throws 21 of 23. But the last 2 games against Kentucky and against Georgia, you have gone a combined 12 of 55 from the three-point line. 12 of 55. That is an average of just barely over 21% from the three-point line over the last 2 games. That's not good. At some point, it's kind of like we talked about with the men back earlier. Stop shooting them. Get to the basket. They did not do well getting to the basket in this game. I mean, you had they finally started getting the ball inside to Z Spearman, who had a fantastic second half,
Right.
because she just outmanned whoever was guarding her in that second half.
Well, that's why you have Jewel Spear up on the screen, and yes, she did have 20 points, but I almost feel like Kanaya Boyd was more of a playmaker than Jewel Spear, and this was senior night. Jewel Spear, you got to give her credit going 10 from 10 from the stripe, but that's the only way she got 20 points.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
4 of 11 from the field, 2 of 7 from the three-point line.
Yep, exactly. I mean, Z Spearman went 7 of 11 from the field, 4 of 5 from free throw, and Kanaya Boyd 2 of 5 from the field, 4 of 4 at the free throw line. She chipped in 9 points. Samara Spencer got 11, but again, 4 of 14. Like, I mean, just non-competitive whatsoever. I don't feel like Georgia's defense was that good. I felt like our shot selection, I mean, we almost looked desperate in this game. It was so bad. From start to finish, honestly. Yeah, they came back and they looked okay for a little bit, but then you get the 3-point lead, and then it's almost like you give up. It's like, oh, we came back. All right, cool. Let's let Georgia come back now and win the game. Like, they did it in your house on senior night when you were still playing for a host of the big dance. It's just, man, I don't know. This is the first real like disappointment I've had in the Lady Vols all year long under Kim Caldwell. And it hurts a lot just because of what they gave up. I mean, there was a lot to lose in this, and they lost it, in my opinion. I don't think they have a chance to get it back. What do you think, Michael?
I think if they make a run to I'll say the semifinals of the SEC tournament.
You think they bump up 2 spots?
No, they don't bump up 2 spots. I think that they can get to a 4 spot. That's attainable.
Well, I'm saying they're ranked 18th now, so to get to that 4 seed, you would have to bump up in the rankings by more than 2.
Oh, yeah, I think they can definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they can do that. I think they can get to a 4
They'll
seed.
have the most opportunities because they no longer have to buy in the SEC championship.
And that's the big thing right there. And
that's another thing that they lost.
Yeah, this game right here, all you had to do was win, and you got a single bye, meaning that the tournament starts on Wednesday. You don't have to play until Thursday. We knew that the double bye was out after the loss to Kentucky, and let's be honest, you probably weren't going to get that double bye anyway because of everything else that happened. But you could at least get that single bye, and any break that you have where you don't have to play a game or somebody else does is huge at this time of year. So you were playing for at least a 7 seed at that point, meaning you get the first round bye, and because you lost that, you drop to a 9 seed where you've literally got to come from the very first day of the tournament if you want a chance to win an SEC championship in the tournament. You've got to play all 4 days. And that's hard to, I think it's 5 days, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 5 days. You start Wednesday, you play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
So, I mean, you've literally got to go through 5 days if you want a chance to win the SEC tournament, which we talked about back earlier. I think that the style that Tennessee plays, it gives them an advantage because they can have their legs will be under them a little bit more by the time that next day comes around.
Yeah.
But whenever you've played 2 games, and if you make it this far, you play against South Carolina, the number 2 or 3 team in the country, number 1 team in the SEC.
Yep.
On Friday, they've got the fresh legs, and you don't at this point. Even if you don't play the same style that most teams do, it's a severe disadvantage.
That's right. I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Man, Sean, Joey, we appreciate you tuning in on the Facebook. If anybody's tuned in, leave a comment. Let us know that you're here. We appreciate you spending your money evening with us. Michael, just to put this in perspective, all right, so we're 9th now, completely 9th in the SEC going into the tournament coming up Wednesday, this week, in a couple days. So to put in perspective, if we would have went 2-0, if we would have beat Kentucky, if we would have beat Georgia, we hold the tiebreaker over Alabama. We would have held the tiebreaker over Kentucky, and we would have held the tiebreaker over Ole Miss. Am I correct?
Yes, but
So-
where we wouldn't have held that tiebreaker is against Oklahoma.
That's okay. That's okay. We went from being a potential 5 seed in the tournament
Yep.
to a 9 seed because
In
of this
2
week.
games.
Because of this week.
Yes.
That hurts. That hurts. I don't know about y'all, but that stings. I mean, I know this team, they can't think that way. I mean, at the end of the day, they got a game Wednesday they got to prepare for. But as a fan, you went from being 5th in the conference to 9th over this last week. I mean, I don't know, Michael. 21-8, 8-8 in the SEC. How do you view this season after that? I mean, to me, I'm chalking it up like first year.
Yeah, first year, but
And shrug the shoulders.
You can look at it 2 different ways. I mean, you had a fantastic start. You went undefeated in non-conference. That's something that cannot be ignored. You were the only team in the country besides, I believe, UCLA, maybe LSU, to go undefeated in non-conference play. That's something that cannot be ignored. And
But then you go back and look at that, though. There was only one ranked team in that entire span, and it was Iowa.
that's fair. That's also fair. Then you get to conference play. And we've said it a few different times that the women's conference is so top heavy this year. So you didn't beat a team that was ahead of you other than you beat Alabama and Ole Miss. But at the time, they were either even with you or they were behind you. And all you did was beat a team that you were better than.
Yep.
You did not beat a team this year that you were better than, or that was better than you. I'm sorry, because South Carolina
UConn.
beat you.
But that's in the non-con.
Oh yeah.
But I
So
hear you.
South Carolina beat you, Texas beat you, LSU beat you twice, and then Kentucky beat you. Oklahoma is also better than you. They beat you, but you beat Alabama, you beat Ole Miss. Vanderbilt did get you. So I mean, I think as far as conference play goes, I would have loved to have seen one upset there. And you didn't get that. So conference play, we said try to be in the top 6. Well, I think it's a failure because you were at number 9 going into the tournament. But I'm like you. I'm chalking it up to first year under Kim Caldwell. We've seen a lot of positives going forward with this team. That I think, and especially with the recruiting class that they have coming in next year, I think that there's a lot to be said that you can be excited about going forward. But this year, you also saw some lumps that you're gonna have to add. You're gonna have to look in the mirror and say, "All right, what can we do to fix this?"
That's right. I ain't got nothing else, man. I mean, do you have anything else you want to close in before we start talking some exciting news in the men's?
Well, I was just going to give the path for the Lady Vols in the tournament as they do face off against the 16 seed Texas A&M. You beat them once this year and beat them pretty handily. You should win that game. Then you get your revenge game against Vanderbilt on Thursday. If you don't win that game at this point, then this season is definitely a failure. Because, you said it. It's really hard to be able to move up 2 spots there in the polls and possibly get back to that 4 seed going into the national tournament. To do that, you have to get by Vanderbilt. And in South Carolina, that's going to be a tall task. That's who you would play on Friday. But
I think South Carolina this year is the most beatable they've been in the last 3 or 4 years. I
agree.
Say that.
I agree with that. I do. I agree with that.
And I hate to say twofold here. Tennessee Lady Vols, I've always said that I feel like on their best day, they could beat anybody. Problem is they're so inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
On their worst day, they can lose to anybody. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I just hope that this is a big learning moment for this team.
Yeah, and that injury to Talaysia Cooper, we don't know how bad it is right now. That is a
short
big
turnaround.
loss.
And you've got a short turnaround. I mean, they're playing Wednesday.
Yep.
So, I mean, usually ladies play Sunday, Thursday, and then, you know what I mean? So, it's a short turnaround. We'll see. Obviously, she's got the best of the best helping her out with therapy and whatnot. So we hope. I mean, I haven't seen or heard any official word on her But I mean, the way she rolled it up would not surprise me if it's a high ankle sprain. In that case, depending on the severity, she would not be playing, in my opinion, Wednesday. So,
Yep.
no,
So,
I don't know.
Yeah, so that's the path right now. Of course, if you do get past that, you would play probably Kentucky again. And then you're probably, if you do happen to get all the way to the championship game on Sunday, you would probably be playing either Texas or LSU. It's a tall task. Is it doable? Yeah, it absolutely is. Because you played every single one of these teams except for Kentucky tough. But it's going to be a tall task having to work from day one of the tournament all the way to that championship game.
I think my goal, and I'm not putting a ceiling on this team, but my goal is to get to South Carolina and be competitive.
Yes. And then when you get to the NCAA tournament, it's a whole new ball game then.
Yeah,
But
and I'm not even going to put expectations on that until I see the brackets. But I just in the SEC championship get to the Friday and be competitive, and from there, who knows? So,
but it's gut check time.
Yep.
You've got to take a hard look in the mirror, and you got to figure some things out before this matchup against Texas A&M on Wednesday.
100% agree.
All right, well, that's all we got for the Lady Vols. Skylar, you want to give us our segment 2 sponsor before we talk about the men's team?
I sure can. And segment 2 is P&L Business Services. We know firsthand that getting your monthly reporting, invoicing, bill pay, taxes, and other essential business services right is critical. That's why at P&L Business Services, we go beyond bookkeeping by providing you with everything you need in your back office so you can have your time back and the peace of mind to do what you love most, which is building your business. Behind every successful business is a great bookkeeper. It's easy as reaching out at online at pnlbusinessservices.com if you feel like that you need those services. It's kind of their busy time right now, so definitely want to do that. But no, P&L, we appreciate your support yet again, right here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. The folks out there in that office are amazing. Highly recommend. So, excuse me, my voice. We're trying to overcome some allergies, but we got to talk men's here, and we got to go back. I want to talk about the game as much as anybody else wants to, but there was a game before Alabama that we got to talk about. And this was one that was kind of making me pull my hair out. I mean, 65-59, Tennessee does. They went into Baton Rouge, right? That was on the road?
Yep, it was on the road.
Yeah, so I mean, on the road at night, they got the win. Can't be upset about that, but I tell you what, it was kind of frustrating. I mean, it's a I'm not going to say a bad LSU team, but an LSU team I kind of felt like we should have beat a little bit more convincing than what we did. But who am I to sit here and complain about winning on the road at night?
No, I'll say it. This is a bad LSU team.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I mean,
there you go.
They're not as bad, and they had some injuries at the beginning of the year that really hindered them through the rest of the season. But this is not a good LSU team, and you let them hang around, and it started getting a little bit dicey there towards the end.
Sure did.
But luckily, Vols did persevere, got a big win on the road, and I mean, you also take it. You take it with a hindrance, I guess is how you would say. You're not going to complain about a win, especially on the road in conference play, but also you got to take something from it to make sure that you improve.
No, for sure. This is a game where when Chaz doesn't, I think it's like 16 or 17 points. If he doesn't get to that mark, I think Tennessee's like 500. But so he didn't get to that. He only got 14 points. But that's where you look at Zakai and Felix Apara and Jordan Gainey and what they were able to do. Kind of stepped up. Again, another game where I don't feel like Igor Milicic was really 4 points, kind of nowhere. I mean, I hope everything's okay with Igor. He's had a kind of a bad couple weeks. He popped off and then just kind of went quiet. But I think overall this was a great team win. But you never had that one person pop off. Felix, I'll say this, defensively, that dude's a dog. I mean, getting the blocks at timely. I mean, just massive momentum changing plays that he makes at the rim. This was a good game. Not one that I'd prefer to have. I think I'd rather win by 10, 15 right here. I think the line was right around 11.
Yep.
So obviously didn't cover, and we all say, good teams win, but great teams do what, Michael?
They cover.
And they didn't. So, it's one of those things where it's frustrating. You didn't shoot well. You shot 41% from the field, 27% from threes. But I will say this: they found a way, and I think they found a way because of the rebounds. The second chance opportunities they gave themselves. They shot like crap from the free throw line yet again. Everything points to like they shouldn't have won, but yet they found a way. And honestly, they kind of did that 2 games in a row, as we'll talk about that in a little bit. But overall,
that you talked about the second chance points. That is really the biggest difference
yeah,
in this game.
yep.
You see the rebounding numbers there, 44-28, but second chance points in this game. Tennessee 27 second chance points, LSU with 8. So that was huge in this game. But Miller and Carter for LSU, they're going to be some good ball players. But this was an LSU team that they really didn't rely on one player. They got scoring from all the way around. You had Miller with 17 in the game, Givens with 8, Bailey 5, Carter 12, Collins with 9. And then you got Sears and Williams with 2 apiece, and Miller off the bench with 4. So they got points all the way around. And really only one guy got a lot of boards in this game for them, as Miller off the bench had 9 rebounds, and the next highest rebound total for anybody on LSU's team was 3. So Tennessee, you had pretty much the opposite. You had Chaz Lanier was the leading rebounder in this game with 9 rebounds. Milicic was 7, Meshack with 8, Akpara was 7.
And Meshack, real quick, sorry to cut you off, but Meshack was kind of the underlying MVP to me. He had kind of like a quiet 9 points, 8 rebounds, almost had a double-double in the game. But Meshack's 9 points, I think, helped made up for the lack of production from kind of like, Igor, Chaz Lanier, stuff like that. Because, let's be honest, I don't think we go into a game thinking Meshack's going to be a double-digit scorer, right? He's probably going to get you 4 or 6. But he got 9 in this game, along with the 8 rebounds, which I think was very much key. I mean, Meshack, what he's doing at the rim is something that that's all heart. You can't coach that, in my opinion, and he's showing it. He's wearing it on a sleeve, and he's helping the team every way he can. Obviously, he's hearing a lot of naysaying, but he's done a really good job this past week shutting them up and letting him know that he does belong on the floor.
Yeah, but you talked about Milicic having a tough time lately, and he has been. Part of that has been he's been in foul trouble the last couple of games. Now against LSU, that he wasn't, but the biggest thing for me is you had Jordan Gainey kind of no-show, and not only that, he wasn't on the floor all that long. He played 17 minutes in this ball game, had 5 points. He was 2 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from the 3-point line, 2 rebounds, an assist, and 2 turnovers in this game. This team goes kind of how Gainey and Milicic goes. I mean, you're going to get what you get from Chaz and from Ziegler most nights. Meshack is going to give you everything he's got. Now, whether that reflects in the scoring column, it just depends. But and then Akpara, he's going to give you everything that he's got as well on defense. And then what you get on offense is just an added bonus. And really the same thing with Cade Phillips. But Gainey and Milicic, what they do on the floor really determines how this Tennessee team goes night in and night out. And
I've been saying that since day one with Gainey. I feel like when Gainey's at his best, I feel like the whole team's at their best because I just feel like everything at that point's clicking. When Gainey, I mean, he's kind of like your next best scorer, right? And Igor kind of became that there for a little bit. But if Gainey's scoring, there's not so much pressure on Zakai and Chaz Lanier, right? And so in this game, you actually seen both of those guys kind of no-show, but and that's why I think this was such a gritty win. Nobody was really playing at their best, but they still found a way. And that's where you got to give credit to the team. You got to give credit. This was one of those ugly ones, right? You have them, especially with Rick Barnes as your head coach. It's an ugly defensive game, and they came out on top. LSU, I think, played the game they had to play to get the win. And that's where you got to credit Tennessee for still coming out on top. And I think all that comes down to is rebounding. And so LSU, if they get 2-3 more boards, we could be talking about a different outcome here.
Yep, I completely agree with you, especially when you look, and Tennessee's largest lead of the game was 61-46 late in the second half. I mean, late in the second half. Tennessee scored, let's see.
We went on so many droughts, man.
Yeah, I can't go back far enough right now, but Tennessee only scored 4 points in the final probably 2 minutes. 3 minutes, something like that. It wasn't good.
Yeah, 63 to 60. 63. We were at 60.
We were at
61 with 3 minutes left to go.
Yeah, so you scored 4 points in the final 3 minutes of the ball game.
Yeah.
And allowed LSU.
I'm looking at the chart, right? I'm looking at the chart, and at the end of the chart, it goes like this right here. It ain't good, brother. It ain't good. So yeah, you're 100% right. That cannot happen, especially when the other team's chart goes straight up at the very end. I mean, LSU did a great job, trying to make it something there at the end of the game. I 100% got nervous. The scoring droughts hurt, and they always feel like they come at the worst times. But no, Tennessee, they got it done. Set up the much anticipated matchup against Alabama, which was a 5 versus 6 top 10 showdown. The last for Bob Kessling, who's on the call for this one, his last top 10 showdown in Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center. It came down to the showdown, right? This is for the number 1 seed. Not really. There's still work to be done, but this obviously would help you. And
you ready? You ready to see the graphic?
Let's see it.
Love to see it, man.
Somebody crank up Dixieland Delight. No, that's a good one right there. Tennessee gets the win 79-76. And I got to give the shout out. Jamal Meshack. Nobody better. And a time where the coach, Zakai Ziegler's calling for timeout. Nobody wants the ball in his hands. And he says, hold my beer. I'm chugging this thing up. And it goes in. And I think that's what made the moment so much more special. I was watching at a country club with a bunch of guys, right? And we're like, what? No, him? No. And then he throws it up, and that place goes crazy. Just like I know TBA went when that ball went in. Just nobody better in that moment. I mean, the emotions that ran through at that point in the game, you're kind of playing with house money because if he misses it, oh well, you go to overtime. But man, it was so much sweeter when that ball went through the rim. What were your emotions there at the end of the game?
So it was kind of a roller coaster of emotions because with about a minute left, I was at my wife's grandparents this weekend, and we were watching the game, and her papa with about a minute left, or it was whenever Alabama went up by 4 there. He said, well, that about does it in this one.
Yeah.
And then come down the court, Chaz Lanier gets the 2. He said, oh, okay, we got a little bit of a chance here. He goes to the free throw line, and right in the middle of him missing it, before they call the foul on Alabama on Meshack there, he's like, no, that does it. And then the foul. Oh, okay. We got Meshack going to the line. And he knocks them both down. He's okay. And then Alabama comes down on offense, and he says, please do not get it to Mark Sears. Please don't let that ball go to Mark Sears.
Sure enough.
and let me just say this, though. They had the play drawn up perfectly to get the ball to Mark Sears. But the freshman, and I'd have to pull his name up.
For Alabama?
Let's see, was it Phylon? Was that his name?
Yeah, Laberion Phylon.
Yeah. He basically said, No, Mark, I got this. Don't worry about it. Going up against Meshack. Like a freshman is not going to win that battle against Meshack. I'm sorry. It was just a whole roller coaster of emotions. I'm holding the baby at the time, and when Meshack knocked down the 3, I had to make sure I was holding on tight as I was cheering there to make sure I didn't drop him. But I don't even want to talk about the final shot as much as the sequence in the last 30 seconds that Meshack did. All right, so obviously, gets fouled on Lanier's missed free throw, goes and knocks down both free throws. That can't be understated.
Chaz Lanier, take notes.
Yeah.
No, seriously. Chaz Lanier, when the game is on the line, cannot make a free throw. I'll say it right now.
It's happened time and time again.
Yeah. Like you would think after the first time, that kid would literally nothing but free throw practice. No. It's okay. That does get under my skin, but yes, keep going. Yeah. Jamal Meshack absolutely
knock down both free throws, force the jump ball on Phylon, And
Which
then, hey,
that's obviously Alabama kept possession there, but what that did was force the inbounds play, right?
yes, yes, and Meshack played a key role in making sure that
Mhm.
Alabama could not get the ball in, forcing that 5-second
It
violation.
was like 5.5 seconds. Like, it wasn't even really close, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, ESPN did the timer, and, like, the referee's arm was going, like, super slow. Like,
Mhm.
yeah. No, it was 100% a 5-second violation. I don't care what any Bama fan says.
Yeah, and then he was like the third, maybe even the last option on that inbounds from Zakai. Took the ball, looked over at Rick Barnes, and you know he thought, and he said it in the press
He
conference.
thought they were gonna
He thought that Rick Barnes was saying, "Go up and shoot it, man." When in reality, he's like, "Hey, try to get up so we can get a timeout." So Meshack, he looks at Barnes, he looks back, he's like, "Okay, I'm shooting this ball," and then without hesitation, pulls it. Drano.
And Outpara's screen there was
That
insane.
yes,
I mean,
that
it never gets talked about, but that was so clutch to make sure he had the room to pull that. No, I agree. And man, it's so funny watching the replay because the Kai doesn't even get to celebrate because he's so worried about not getting the timeout off.
neither did
I mean,
Barnes. Neither one of like I listened to Rick Barnes post game press conference. They asked him about the game winner. He said, "I'm going to be honest. I didn't even see it because I was so mad about not getting the timeout."
No, for real. All right. We gave the roses to Jamal Meshack, right?
Yep.
It's well deserved. But this is the biggest choke job I've ever seen of a freaking basketball program I've ever witnessed than what Alabama did in the final minute and a half of this basketball game. You had the lead by 4. You're getting fouled, right? You're going to the line. At that point, you're cocky because let's face it, when a team has to foul to stay in the ball game, dude, at that point, it's like 99% chance they're not winning. But for them to not only foul after the missed free throw, which is a bad foul, you cannot do that. The having 2 timeouts and getting the 5-second call is absurd. Dude.
So that's the thing. There was 2 different instances where you could have called a timeout there. One being whenever Filan did not give the ball to Mark Sears.
Right.
Hey, call a timeout. Hey, man, this is my guy. This is who has got us to this point in this ball game. You give him that ball.
100%.
And then on the inbounds, as the coach, you either have to be prepared to call the timeout or tell your guy throwing it in, hey, we got 2 timeouts in our back pocket.
You tell the referee, hey, bro, let me know when it's 3 seconds because I'll just go ahead and call a time. That is so, and I'm not going to go in on him because Nate Oates came out and like admitted, like, yeah, that's on me. Yeah, it was, bro. Like, there's no freaking reason why you get a 5-second call right there and give us the ball that easily. Like, I don't know. That was, if Rick Barnes had made the same mistakes that Nate Oates did, I mean, our fan base would be woo, yeah. I'm glad that it's not.
Yeah, let's flip sides of that for a second, though.
Yeah.
Talking about the timeout, because Rick Barnes tried calling timeout and did not get it. He also said in the post-game press conference, most of the time in a situation like that, I will go ahead and tell the referee, hey, we get to half court, I want a timeout.
Yep.
He said, I did not do that this time. I was just trying to get the timeout on my own. And he said, that might have been the best coaching decision I made all day long, not talking to the referee beforehand.
No, absolutely. Because, I mean, obviously we're saying that because the ball went in. If the ball doesn't go in, we're sitting here yelling, why didn't you call timeout? Why is Jermaine Meshack getting the ball? Like, obviously hindsight's always 20/20. But in this situation, I just, I credit Tennessee Vols, man. They battled even when we were down 4 points there with like 30 seconds left to go. They found a way. But, if I was just trying to put, take off the orange glasses and just watch the game from a third party's view, how in the world Alabama let this get away from them? I have no idea. I mean, you look at it, I guess technically we did shoot better than them, 42.5 from the field. It didn't feel like it, I'll be honest with you. We shot about the same from 3-point. It also didn't feel like that because Mark Sears had a really good game.
This game, you can see it in the stats. This game was won and lost at the free throw line.
Yep.
HYFT. Tennessee made two more free throws, only shot 73% from the foul line. You'd like to see that number up a little bit closer to 80, but Alabama only made 17 of 26.
Yep.
That's where they lost the game.
Still got out rebounded though by 9. I mean, that
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I felt like for most of the night, Alabama kind of was the better team. Now, I'll be honest with you. We had some clutch moments from some players. I mean, Darlington DeBar, we've been kind of hard on all year, but he comes in and makes 2 threes. I mean, and he hit one of them pretty early, and it was really good to see. It was a refreshing. I'm like, hey, there's the scorer and the guy that we thought we got in the offseason. But man, Jordan Gainey, can't say enough good things about him.
That's the one guy I wanted to highlight.
And
Meshack gets all the praise for knocking down that game winner and all the hustle stats and stuff that he got. Jordan Gainey, in my mind, was the guy that kept Tennessee in this game and led to that comeback. 18 points on the night, 6 of 13 from the field. He was 0-2 from the three-point line, but he realized, hey, I'm able to get this mid-range jumper, which I'm great at. That is where he's at his best, when he's knocking down those pull-up mid-range jumpers.
He might be a better mid-range shooter than Chaz Lanier.
Absolutely, he is.
I mean, he's almost automatic with it. I mean, it is insane how good he is with it, and we've not really seen it enough, in my opinion, this year.
Yeah, it's like he's got to have confidence, and when he makes that first one, look out, whoever we're playing, because he's going to knock down a whole lot more of them. And he went on a stretch where I think he scored 10 of Tennessee's 14 points at one point in that second half. He had a fantastic game, and kind of like what we talked about earlier, this team goes the way that Gainey and Meshack goes. They combined in this game for 29 points of Tennessee's 79. Fantastic.
Zakai going 2 of 3 from 3-point was huge. Chaz Lanier, even though he got 18 points, he was still only 2 of 8 from the 3. But overall, again, Igor only getting 3 points. Felix Apar only getting 5, but he had 2 blocks yet again, had a steal, and had 9 rebounds. Almost had another double-digit rebound night. But overall, man, just a good team win. What a battle. This was one of the more fun basketball games I think I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, but with all the good things that happened in this game, I do have to talk about one player here. Zakai Ziegler, man. That first half was terrible for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first foul, that wasn't a foul. Mark Sears is one of the best in the nation at flopping and
well,
drawing.
the refs were very inconsistent all night. I will say that 100%.
They were.
I mean, Mark Sears straight up stepped on Zakai, and somehow that's not a foul. But
I mean, we don't blame refs on this show. We never have. We never.
I said they were wildly inconsistent. That's all.
Yes, they were. But Zakai, that first foul probably wasn't a foul. Mark Sears flopped and got the foul call. But the second one, though, with 16 and a half minutes left to go in the first half,
can't happen.
That one can't happen. You're a senior, and you are making a stupid decision like that on a fast break, fouling like that. You had to sit most of the rest of the first half, and lucky for you, your teammates, they stepped up and kept you in this game long enough that when you got back into the game, you were able to finally do a few things to help out, but he did not play his best game. Now, I do think that it's going to be a one-off because we have seen Zakai play a whole lot better this year than he has playing bad. If it was his freshman, sophomore year, I would say, well, that's the Zakai that we need to expect because he can be fantastic one game, then the next game come out and have 8 turnovers, which he has done before. But this season, we have not seen that. This is probably the worst game that Zakai has played this season or close to it. And I don't think we're going to see that again the rest of the year.
I'm not going to go that far. I don't feel like he was that. I mean, he made dumb decisions, but he wasn't bad on the floor. I mean, in my opinion, as far as scoring and defensive play, still got a couple of great steals. I don't like the fumbling of the ball, which he did that a couple of times. But every player does when there's a lot on the line and you're trying to get that extra pass or whatnot. I think this, look, and I'll kind of revert back to Gainey. When his number's been called and he's got to step up in situations like that, the man's always responded. Now, Gainey's might have some bad games when he comes in for 10, 11, 12 minutes just as a rotational guy and just not really put up numbers. But anytime Gainey's had to step up, the kid's done it. And I didn't even realize that his dad was on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
but then, the cameras turned to him. I'm like, dude, that coach looks just like Gainey. And, of course, I found out that was his dad. So, I mean, I thought that was kind of cool. But, no, I think, I got to credit obviously, you know who your 5 players are when you're going into a big game. You look at the numbers. Even Zakai having to sit as long as he did, still got 30 minutes in this game. Chaz Lanier, 33. Jamal Meshack, 34 minutes. That's got to be the most minutes he's ever played. In my opinion, I could be completely wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen Jamal Meshack put in that many minutes. Felix Atpara, 35 minutes. A big playing 35 minutes. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's what I'm talking about. But I mean, I was kind of afraid that was going to hurt us at the end of the game, but I don't think it did. I think Jordan Danier got 30 minutes. I just, he got 29. He stepped up in a big way. I mean, I'm just so proud of the team, the way they played, the way they executed. They fought off. Mark Shears didn't have a bad game. The dude had like 24, 26, 24 points.
Look, I guarantee.
And you still was able to fight that. Like, he was on and you were still able to beat that.
I guarantee this because it was the Mark Sears that it seemed like every time he throws up a shot, it's going in. That's the way that he was playing in this game. If he had gotten the ball from Filan on that final possession, he would have made the shot. I don't care if it was a 3-pointer, if he was driving to the hoop. He would have either made the shot or gotten fouled. That's just the way that the game was going.
Yep. Massive, massive game for the Vols. This kept their 1 seed hopes alive. There's still work to be done. It is not a lock by any means, but you did see the Vols rise up in the polls today at the number 4 spot. And yes, if you can do the math, which I hope you can, that is a number 1 seed at the moment. That is all you could ask for of this program. They've never done it before, but they've got work to do against Ole Miss, and they've got work to do against South Carolina. They've got to finish strong. And I will say this, I feel uber confident about South Carolina because it's a home game.
I am super nervous about Ole Miss.
I am worried as hell, excuse my language, but they go on the road to Ole Miss, and it's like 9 o'clock tip-off.
Yeah, it's a 9 o'clock Eastern time tip-off against a Chris Beard coach team. Yeah, it's not a recipe for success.
There's work to be done. Now, I will say this. Florida helped you. They lost. They lost in the midweek, I think, which kind of hurt them, kind of put them out of the picture. You beat Alabama, but now here's the thing. You got the head-to-head, which is why you're at number 4 now. But if you look at it in Alabama's eyes, they still got to play Florida and Auburn. They can quickly erase this loss to Tennessee and move right back up into the 4 spot. Don't care how you finish. That's just the way it is. They can get 2 big wins to finish the year. You got to hope that Alabama drops another one to Florida or Auburn. And then you've got to take care of business. That there is still a road where you went out and still don't get the 4th number 1 seed. And I hate to admit that. But if Alabama wins out, those 2 wins are way more impressive than your 2 wins. And, they're going to chalk up a top 5 loss on the road as not as big of a punishment. They're going to give it to Alabama. Now, I'm not saying that's fair, but I can't argue that either. I mean,
but you know what? If they win their last 2 games, hey, all credit to you because this final 7-game stretch that Alabama had, we talked about it a little bit last week. It started at home against Auburn. You dropped that game. Then you played on the road at Missouri. You dropped that game. But you play Kentucky at home and Mississippi State at home and really just dominated both of those teams. You do drop a close one to Tennessee. You've got Florida and then at Auburn to finish off your regular season. If you win those last 2 games and you go 4-3 over that stretch, because Auburn, number 1 in the nation at the time, Missouri, number 15, Kentucky, number 17, Mississippi State, 24, Tennessee, 5, Florida this week is at 5, and Auburn is still at number 1. If you can go 4-3 over that stretch right there, if you're Alabama, hey, you deserve that spot at that point, in my opinion.
They haven't handled it well yet. And I'll be honest with you, Alabama, you just mentioned it. Since the stretch started, they're 2-3 with wins over Mississippi State and Kentucky and losses against Auburn, Missouri, and Tennessee. If they win the final 2, I do think that is something going 4-3 there, but I don't know, man. I think Florida's going to be out for blood after losing a game that they probably shouldn't have. But we'll see. Alabama, obviously, still got it right there in front of you. I do think head-to-head matters, but at the end of the day, I know basketball is all about KenPom rankings and how that's going to shake out. I don't know. Tennessee's got to take care of business. We got to control what we can control, right?
Yep.
Go to Ole Miss, beat them, and honestly, to end the year, you better crush South Carolina.
Yep.
I don't mind if you lose or if you win a close one, kind of ugly like you did LSU. Now, I'd hate it as a fan watching it. I'd be like, man, we just beat Alabama. How are we going wire to wire with Ole Miss? And but don't let it be a hangover. It's a big win. You got work to do. Go beat Ole Miss. But then when you come back home for senior night next Saturday, I think.
Yep.
This coming Saturday, you better beat the crap. I mean, I'm talking like let's get in some guys that are walk-on seniors or whatever. That's the type of game I'm expecting against South Carolina. That'll leave a really good impression on the final committee or whatnot right before tournament play. I think that's the golden. I think that's the golden recipe for Tennessee Vols going into postseason play.
Yep. Completely agree with you, man. But fantastic week here from the Vols, picking up 2 wins, and that one Saturday against Alabama was just an absolutely huge win. Could possibly be a program defining win depending on how they finish off the rest of this season. But
I want to give a quick shout out to Mark Sears once again to Alabama. Without Mark Sears, I don't know where they are. And the reason why I bring that up is, I did a quick glance. Mark Sears is the leader, the 3 big statistical offensive categories you can have. He's got the most points per game for Alabama. He's got the most assists per game for Alabama. And he's got the best field goal percentage for Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid's playing his heart out. And I know that he's gotten a lot of hate over the year from his own fan base because he wasn't playing his best. But at some point, I feel like you're asking a lot more than you should ever ask out of any player. And I think we did it as fans to Dalton Connect last year. But, without Mark Sears, I don't think Alabama's a top 10 program. And so I just want to give a quick little shout out. Kid's playing his heart out. He did it again against Tennessee. Really put the team on his back. It's unfortunate. And I kind of feel for him a little bit. I think he's a really good talent, and I think they'll go far in the tournament. But obviously, they're only going to go as far as he takes them because not many folks on that team's helping him out. So,
yep, completely agree with you, man. But that's going to wrap up our Tennessee basketball segment. We do have one more segment left to go, and we're going to look back at our predictions for Tennessee football this year. But before we get into all that, I will give you our segment 3 sponsor. It is Kaizen Painting. Do you want a colorful life? Kaizen is a painting and drywall company that provides residential, commercial, exterior, and interior services. At Kaizen Painting, we understand the importance of a beautifully painted home and properly installed and repaired drywall. We're here to bring your vision to life. We care about providing you with a personalized, efficient, and quality service. If you live in Knoxville and surroundings, contact us for a free estimate at KaizenPainting.com. Color your life the Kaizen way. So, Tennessee football this year. We kind of spoiled it a little bit over the last couple of weeks.
that's all right.
And I don't know why it didn't pop up our predictions, but that's okay because we both picked 10-2 to start the season.
Both picked 10-2. And we both had one of the losses correct, right? Georgia.
Yep, Georgia.
The other loss, we were both on the right track. We thought it'd be on the road at night. You thought it was going to be the neutral site game against NC State.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be on the road at night at Oklahoma. We ended up both being wrong. It was on the road at night at Arkansas. I still don't know how that happened, but hey, it is what it is. I do feel like we know our team very well because for the most part, that's exactly what they did. It's just we were wrong on which game it was going to be. I wish moving forward we can find out a way to not drop those disappointment games on the road at night, but who knows? Maybe next year.
Yeah.
A key saying for our Vols. No, look, 10-2. You made the playoff. We both nailed that one on the head. This was a fun year. It was Nico's first year. I'm really looking forward to that year 1 to year 2 jump that he's going to have. Even if the wide receiver room is maybe a little bit lesser than, I still think they'll have more production. And I think I've hinted at that. I've said that several times already because I think Nico's going to be better. I think he's going to be better. He's going to be a better on-field commander. He's going to be able to make a lot of the reads and plays on his own, not necessarily have to wait on the coaching to make a change or whatnot. So, no, I think over the year, though, 10-2, it's all you can ask for in the SEC that it expanded. You handled business against Oklahoma. which was awesome because I think you really set the tone for that team as they entered SEC play. Excuse me. And I mean, this was a success, 100%.
It was definitely a success because, I mean, you look at the FanDuel win total there at 8.5. That was almost guaranteed money. I did not feel like Tennessee was going to only win 8 games. I felt like 9 was a lock. And then, obviously we both predicted 10-2. And this season was a success. I mean, you made the college football playoffs, went 10-2. But did this regular season not feel a little bit like a disappointment as well?
I mean,
I'll show my work on it.
I mean, maybe because of the drop to Arkansas, but honestly, that was expected. So I can't now go back and say that's a disappointment when I expected it. So honestly, I think the season was exactly what I expected. I can't say it's a success or disappointment.
I'll show my work on it. I feel like the season was a slight disappointment because, but I think it's our own fault. And I'm not saying us two just calling us out. I think the Tennessee fan base as a whole, it was our fault because we put so much expectations on Nico.
Nico's a Heisman candidate.
Yeah. So,
well, you can thank him for the Iowa performance in the bowl game, though.
That's true. But I mean, coming into this season, we were like, okay, the defense last year was good, should be even better this year. So you had that going for you, and then you've got a Heisman candidate at quarterback. You've got arguably the best returning running back in the nation, or sorry, in the SEC.
Picked up a massive portal wide receiver again in Chris Brazzell.
Yes.
So yeah, you had a lot of moves.
You had a stacked receiving class.
Best offensive line you could ask for because they were all 5th-year seniors except one, which was a 5-star.
So coming into it, you're like, this is the recipe for a Tennessee successful season, a high-flying offense like we saw back in 2022. You've got a defense that can actually stop somebody where they couldn't stop anybody in 22. This is going to be a fantastic year for Tennessee. And then you look down this list here, all right? Even against Chattanooga. Now, granted, it is Chattanooga. You got Nico Iamaleava throwing for 314 yards in the first half. Tied a Tennessee record for passing yards in the first half. NC State, only 211. Still a pretty good game overall. You got Kent State, 173. I don't think he played much of the second
I know where
quarter.
this is going because his numbers went down and down and down. Yeah, I know.
Oklahoma, 194.
Yep.
Arkansas, 158. Florida, 169. Alabama, 194. Kentucky, you back up some, 292. Mississippi State, 174. Georgia, 167. UTEP, 209. Vanderbilt, 257. And then you look at the high receiving yards numbers. Dante Thornton had 105 in that first contest. That was because of, 2 long touchdown catches?
That's all his touchdown catches were long touchdown catches.
Squirrel White, 67 yards. Dante Thornton, 64 yards. Brew McCoy, 92 yards. Dante Thornton, 42. Squirrel White, 71. Brew McCoy, 80. Miles Kitselman, 97. Dante Thornton, 104. Miles Kitselman, 46. Brew McCoy, 37. Then Dante Thornton, 118. That's not numbers that you expect with a Tennessee offense that should be as explosive or close to it.
A 100-yard receiver in every game.
Yes, you absolutely should, or at least be right up there at the 90 mark and maybe have another one at the 70 mark, something like that.
200 yards passing per game, no ifs, ands, bits, buts about it. Like it should be at least 200 yards passing a game. No, I get you. I understand. I mean,
that's where you're only going
with, I would consider 40% of our offensive numbers right there. You're completely overlooking what we were doing on the ground with multiple guys.
I agree. I agree with that.
I mean, yes, but when you were an offense that was getting, I think they put up like 2,600 yards on the ground this year. I mean, some of that dictated why we didn't throw the ball as much is because of how much it was working on the ground. So I think it goes hand in hand. I mean, I think you're going to see the offensive numbers in the passing game go up because honestly, I don't think our running game is going to be as good this next year. But
I will say this too, with how well the running game went, and teams started keying in on that running game, and you were still getting over 100 yards a game from
Yeah.
Dylan Sampson.
Well, Nico had some bad misses. I mean, Nico, let's be honest, he should have had a lot more yardage in a lot of games and completely overthrew people.
Yeah, that's the thing. You should be getting the looks in the passing game, and either you did get them and you missed them, or you didn't catch them whenever those times came,
Yeah.
or you couldn't get open so that Nico could get you the ball. That's where I say it felt like a disappointment. But then you take a step back and you look at it. 10-2, you made the college football playoffs. You can't say that's a disappointing year, especially when you've never made the college football playoffs as a 4-team playoff.
And you
make it in the first year of the 12 team.
I mean, you got rocked in the national championships team's home environment, in which they did that to pretty much every team. So, I mean, not that that's a wash at that point, but you had to play them. You were the only team that had to play them in their house. And you at least kept it a game till halftime. I mean, 21-10, and you got the ball back out of half like that. That was still a game because you went 10-0 in the second quarter to come back. And you look at a team like Oregon that like it was literally gone after the first quarter. I mean, they got absolutely rocked, never came back. Who did they play after that? Was it Texas? They played them okay, but no, it wasn't Texas. Who did they play in the next round?
I'm about to pull it up.
It was Texas, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Because Texas had to beat Arizona State. It was Texas.
Let's see.
It was Texas.
Yes, it was Texas after Oregon, and then you played Notre Dame in the title game.
And Texas, correct me if I'm wrong, but that the score ended up being close, but it was really out of hand until like the fourth quarter. I felt like Texas may have made a push to bring it back, but I thought it was really out of hand. I don't know. But either way, I still think it's a good season. I can't turn around and say it was a disappointment after they literally did exactly what I expected them to do. I can't. That's just that kind of goes against my expectations, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. And like I said, I don't think this season was a disappointment. Like I said, you went 10-2, you made the college football playoffs. It just felt like a disappointment at times because of how high the expectations were.
It feels like it because you look back and you're like, Arkansas, are you kidding me? Like, why couldn't we won that? We could have been a 5th seed, or we could have went to the SEC championship. And, like I get that, but you can't play that game. Like, you can't play that game. Alabama could play that game at that point when they're talking about Oklahoma at the end of the year or whatever. I mean, Alabama lost to Vanderbilt and Tennessee and Oklahoma. Honestly, only one of those teams is valid to lose to. I mean, like they could play that same game. You look at other teams across the nation, and like South Carolina is honestly probably one of the best teams that didn't even get consideration in the playoff, even though they beat some good teams and they lost to really good teams. And because they lost to really good teams, they didn't even get I don't know. Like South Carolina, in my opinion, was one of the scarier teams to play, and they didn't even get a chance. I don't know, man. I'm happy with the season. Like I said, I'm really happy, or I'm really intrigued to see this year 1 to year 2 jump that I think I'm anticipating Nico to have, kind of like Hendon Hooker had from year 1 to year 2. I'm really, really, really looking forward to this.
Yep, I agree with you. So that's going to wrap up our season recaps. We've now made it through all 16 teams. If you get a chance, we are posting those videos on YouTube. Go back and watch those, kind of see how we did this year, predicting those. Before we get out, we will give you some combine numbers from Tennessee players, and then we will talk briefly about Tennessee baseball and softball. James Pierce Jr., man, we knew about this dude. We knew how quick he was, but he ran a 4.47 40-yard dash, which was number 1 out of all defensive ends. Man, he definitely, his draft stock was kind of tumbling there because of his performance this season. And then, why is this dude not talking to the media? There's speculations about all that, but to run a 4.47 40 as a defensive end, as an edge rusher, that's definitely going to bump your draft stock up. I mean, he's probably still going to be in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not interviewing well. He did everything on the field that you'd want him to do. So I think that's going to carry a lot more weight than it. I mean, not that it should, because it should. But the biggest question mark coming, I guess, is from, if you're looking at reports, if you follow it, is he's got kind of like some attitude problems, or there's speculation that the kid's not there, kind of acts like he's better than what he is and kind of hard to be, coachable and stuff like that. And I hate to hear that out of anybody, that especially comes out of Tennessee. I mean, I like to think that a lot of our players kind of do things the right way. So I'm going to keep the orange glasses on and say that I don't think that's fair. I think maybe he's just refusing to interview because he wants to just prove it on the field. But it wouldn't be the first time. I would be lying if I said it wasn't the first time that I've heard it. I heard even in his days back at Tennessee, he was kind of difficult to be around or coach, just because he knew that it was contract year for him, right? He knew that he had better plans coming up for him in the next year, and I hate that, and I think that's kind of crappy on a player to do something like that. But then again, he did play really well in the times that you needed him to. Like, I feel like against Ohio State, he had a lot of tackles for loss. Now, obviously, you gave up 40-something points. What does it matter at that point? Sure. But even against Vanderbilt, he kind of came alive and stuff like that. But, who knows? He did what he needed to do in the combine. I think he showed out. He was one of 2 players for Tennessee that topped the 40 list at their respective position. And we're going to talk about the next one. You know what? I'm just going to talk about it right now. Yeah. Dante Thornton ran a 4.3 as a wideout.
4.3 flat. 6'5", what is he, 205 pounds, something like that?
That's right. Yeah, he's a big dude, but not a big dude, if that makes sense. And you're kind of looking like, where was that at? Well, no, he had that, let's be honest. But you also got to be honest that you got to give the kid a lot of credit. He played banged up. I mean, he was wearing a knee brace all the time. And I think he really took the offseason of 2 months and really trained for this moment. He got healthy, and he did exactly what he needed to do to bump that draft stock. I mean, to be the wide receiver that ran the fastest time in the draft, I mean, he went from being like a 4th round guy to he very well may go 2nd round now, which is huge. What a huge payday that would be.
Somebody is going to take a chance on him just because of that breakaway speed.
Oh yeah. And the size is there. And
yep.
They're going to see the game clip. And I mean, obviously they're going to see the home run hitting that he has. But hopefully they look at, I mean, obviously he was banged up the both years that he was in Tennessee, and that's going to knock him a little bit. But that's where they're going to call the coaches up, say, hey, what was this kid like? And hopefully they can kind of tell him, like, yeah, he was banged up, but he was tough. He played through it, and he gave us all he had. And hopefully that'll kind of help, balance out the injury bug that he's been dealing with. But, yeah, 4.3 flat on the 40s, pretty insane. I was pretty proud of him.
Yeah. A couple of other guys I want to mention, Dylan Sampson being one of them.
Didn't have a great combine.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if he's still got that nagging hamstring
or
whatever,
does,
100%. But he was on the board for some of the biggest losers of the combine because he didn't run the 40.
He
definitely could have helped himself out running a 40, but obviously if you are still dealing with that, you don't want to tweak it again.
He's going to put all of his eggs in the stock for the pro day at Tennessee.
Yep.
He's going to put all the eggs in his basket. That's what I meant to say. But he's going to really have to show out at the pro day here at Tennessee.
And same deal with Brew McCoy. He did not compete at the combine either. I believe he's going to do the same thing. Going to put all of his eggs in that pro day basket at Tennessee.
But I hate that they do that, but then turn around and praise people like Travis Hunter for doing the same thing.
Exactly.
And Travis Hunter ain't even doing it because he's hurt. He's doing it because he wants people, like, selfish reasons, honestly. But like, I don't understand that whatsoever. But that's what you get when you have a big Instagram following, I guess.
But one thing I will say about Brew McCoy, I believe he is winning on the interviews. He's done a fantastic job talking to the media and all that.
When you get a player from Tennessee, that's what I want to hear.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I want the kids to do it and do it the right way. I mean, that's what I think that the basketball team does. Jamal Meshack on the mic, dude, I would listen to him like he was my preacher, bro. Like, that dude's a good, genuine guy. And that's what I feel like a lot of our kids are at Tennessee. And that's what I'm so proud of, especially when we are good at our sports. It's like, hey, we're good at our sports and we don't have to deal with a bunch of thuggery, and I'm putting that as most respectful as I can. But that's what I like to hear. And Dylan Sampson's the same way. He's been a leader since he was a freaking freshman, right? He was always the guy that was the hype man for this team. So, no, Brew McCoy, 100% without a doubt. And you knew that with all the NIL deals that he was doing and how he was a spokesman for a bunch of these companies out here in East Tennessee. He's just a good guy to work with, and he's a great dude in general on and off the field.
Yeah. And then Omar Norman Light, he did not run the 40, but he posted a pretty good vertical, 31 inches or 31 and a half inches, which is number 11
I
overall
like
for
that kid a
defensive
lot.
tackle.
I like that kid a lot.
Yeah, 9.5 foot broad jump as well. He really impressed at his pro day as well. Elijah Simmons, man. We all talk about how big
Dude,
Elijah Simmons, 310 pounds.
Did you see the tweet that JJ Rock, I guess, posted back when he was in high school at the NFL draft in 2019, and he was on stage, and he was like, "Let's just draft that kid." And now to see that full circle, and that was pretty cool. I think it's going to be cool if he gets drafted, especially if it's to maybe like the Texans or a team that he played on. That would be kind of cool.
I think he helped himself out too. Kind of middle of the pack as far as 40-yard dash, 5.37. But dude's 310 pounds.
He's playing D-line, bro. Like, he doesn't have to run a 5 flat. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to be a run stopper. He's going to be that guy when Jalen Hurts tried to do that freaking quarterback sneak. He's going to be like, no, sir. He's going he's going to play right there up the center. So
the big thing for me is a 32-inch vertical. That's going to be big. That's going to be big, playing in the middle there, jumping up, trying to knock down passes from somebody.
That's right. That's
you got a 310 pounder in the middle, and he's got a 32-inch vertical. That's huge. I mean,
he's athletic.
Really, each of these guys, it was those 6 were all invited to the combine for Tennessee this year.
And I think there's still 1 or 2 more players that could get drafted that didn't even get the invite.
Yeah, there definitely could be that can they can definitely make their presence known at the pro day. Will Brooks going from walk-on to a draftee in the NFL draft. That would be a full circle moment there.
I mean, we seen a white defender for the Eagles get that ring. I'm just saying, bro. Do it for the boys, all right? No, I'm joking.
But the Vols definitely showing out at the combine this past week.
Could have done a little bit better for some, but for most, they definitely helped their stock. So,
yep, absolutely. And
let's talk about a couple of no hitters for the softball.
Man, a couple of no hitters. One of them was a perfect game. As
the other one should have been got a walk.
Yeah, it should have been. But Peyton Tanner, is she not a freshman?
True freshman.
Yeah, true freshman throws a perfect game.
Does she not sound like another player that's on the staff right now, but like a little bit older now?
Yeah, a little bit. And she shared a no-hitter day with that same person.
It sounds like Carlin Pickens back in 2021.
Yeah,
it sounds just like we got another Carlin Pickens, and I'm glad we're seeing this. I mean, I was telling you at the beginning of the season, like, hey, this is Carlin Pickens last year, probably. I would think.
She's got 1 more year. She's a junior.
She is a junior. Okay, I didn't know. Yep. I didn't know if she had eligibility or not. But I'm just like, who's that next pitcher that we're going to turn to? And I think we're getting our answer here. Like literally within days of me asking that. It's come a lot. But tell us a little bit about the weekend, man. It was a good weekend.
Yeah. So Tennessee Classic this past weekend for the Lady Vols. Not really some high level competition, but you did not surrender a run during the Tennessee Classic. I had a midweek game against Radford. You won 10-1 in 5 innings, but then in the Tennessee Invitational, you played Delaware State and won 13-0 in 5 innings. Indiana State won 8-0 in 6 innings. On Saturday, played UT Martin, won 10-0 in 5 innings. Played Delaware State again and won 11-0 in 5 innings. And then on Sunday, you finished it off with a 6-0 victory over Indiana State. And I believe it was the Saturday games where the no-hitters happened. Yes. So against UT Martin, Carly Pickett started off today with the no-hitter. Let me see. Come down to her stats here. So had 11 strikeouts in the game. That 1 walk, which, if you listen to the Eric Haynes show like Skylar and I do, Brian Rice was on one today about, she struck out that girl twice, but ended up walking her. But, that's neither here nor there. But a fantastic performance in that game. And then you turn it around later that evening against Delaware State, and Peyton Tanner goes 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, no walks, no hit by pitches, no hits, no runs, the perfect game. And am I right that this is the second no hitter she has had this year? Didn't she have one back earlier?
It was her very first start, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just unbelievable what she has done so far this.
But to
this
give
season.
Carlin Pickens some love as well, because she's still amazing. 77 on the gun.
Yeah.
Over the week. I think that translates to about 108 in baseball. By the time you do the reaction time from ball leaves the hand to the mitt, basically, that reaction time equates to 108-ish in baseball. That's unhittable, right? Like that. I mean, that is insane. And, she said it in one of her interviews that she's like, I don't try to do that, but it's just, it's a feeling of me being uber confident and uber like loose. Like I feel like I can just throw it as hard as I can. And I know I can control it at the same time. It's when she tries to throw it hard is when she gets a little wild, carried away with it. So I think that was kind of cool to hear. I mean, obviously it's not even as warm as it's going to be. So like when it warms up a little bit more
Get a
loose,
little bit looser.
I'm not saying she's hitting 80, bro, but she could absolutely hit 78 on the gun, in my opinion.
Yep.
Each mile an hour, though, when you're throwing it that hard, is so much harder to get, right? So if she could get 78, that would then, I think, clinch the fastest pitch thrown ever.
It would in softball.
So,
but the thing that impresses me the most about Carlin Pickens, though, is not the fact that she can throw 77 miles an hour, but with her other pitches, those off-speed pitches and all that, how well she can pinpoint where to throw those pitches now. Because, Skylar mentioned it's one thing to throw 77 miles an hour. It's another thing to do that and be able to put the ball where you want it.
That's right.
And that's something that she has really improved upon from year one to now she's in year 3. Just unbelievable the steps she has taken, and cannot overlook what Lady Vols had done from the plate. Is Boo Gibson this past weekend batted over 500 from the plate, coming back from
averaging
injury.
5.538, I believe, on the season right now.
Yeah, I mean, batted over 500 this weekend, coming back from injury. I forget who it was now, but in one game, you had a girl hit just an absolute bomb up to the railroad tracks at Sherry Parker Lee Stadium. I mean, getting it done on the mound, in the field, and at the plate. Starting SEC play this weekend is the Lady Vols traveling to Athens to play against Georgia. That'll be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday matchup. So we're getting right in the thick of it.
Not going to go without mentioning Taylor Pannell. She is also averaging over 500 so far. She's already gotten 9 home runs as well, 36 RBI. She is killing it at the plate. So, yeah, Kiki Malloy, look out. That record's in jeopardy right now. But no, the softball team's doing some good. And heating up right at the right time. I think they start SEC play, bro, like this week.
Yeah, starting against Georgia this week.
Yep. So get your popcorn ready. It's baseball and softball season.
Yep. It sure is. And let's see, it was Amaya Doyle. That's the one that hit the home run up to the railroad tracks.
That's right.
I think she's the transfer from like Texas or something like that. I think she's originally from Tennessee, but started her career off at Texas, or maybe it was Texas Tech, somewhere out there, and transferred into Tennessee this year. But yeah, just an absolute bomb of a home run that she hit earlier this week. But going over now to baseball.
You want to know who else has been hitting absolute bombs of home run?
Go ahead and tell him.
Gavin Keelan, bro. He hit 4 home runs over the weekend at a 3-game span out in Texas. Yeah, I don't ever want to hear anybody say anything about home runs because we're in a small ballpark, because this kid literally hit bombs away, bro. And not to mention, I think Levi Clark hit one literally out of the park.
He hit one out of the park.
Literally out of the park. I mean, tell me, come on, man. It was bombs away. The Vols go 3-0 in Texas. They remain undefeated. So how do you explain to me that we're behind LSU right now in the rankings? We're still number 2.
You know what? I'm not going to get into all that, because eventually...
Let's get into it. Come on. Let's stir the freaking pot here, dude.
Look, eventually Tennessee is going to come out as the number 1 team, but I mean, when you look at the numbers, how in the world can you put a team that is undefeated at the number 2 spot
and have a
It's-
better batting average? As a team, they got better home runs percent. They have a better ERA as a team. Like they are literally winning in every statistical category and are undefeated.
Look, Tennessee this season, or I'm sorry, Tennessee this weekend in the Astros Foundation Classic hit more home runs than LSU has so far this season. They hit as a team.
I
this
just
weekend,
look at it like
10
it's
home
disrespectful
runs.
at this point. I understand not giving it to you at the beginning of the season because it's like, okay, they won the Natty, but they lost a lot of pieces. Well, now you've had three weeks to look at it, bro. Yeah, we might have lost some pieces, but like this team's starting out hotter than ever. And so, like, I just look at it as it's almost like I don't even know what it's like. It's just like they try so bad and so hard. They put A&M at number 1, and they literally, I don't know. Did they win a game over the weekend?
A&M
They lost to Arizona.
They lost 4 straight games going into the Rice game yesterday, and they obliterated Rice.
Okay,
in yesterday's game.
but they still. I mean, I think they might be 500 on the year right now. A&M might be.
Yeah, they're definitely feeling their losses right now. But one thing I do want to pump the brakes on is
I don't want to pump brakes on anything right now.
look. You're going to want to pump the brakes on this.
I don't think so. We'll see.
There was a question that was brought up on Twitter yesterday. Is this Tennessee team better than last year's?
Oh, yes, they are.
Team?
No, yes, they are.
Pump the brakes.
No shot. Yes, they are. No, they are better.
We have not entered conference.
I don't give a darn, bro. Like, they are better. Look, Dean Curley, when I seen him in the first game coming out in that number 1 jersey, I knew right then we were better. Bro, oh, God. Like, they are better.
Look, ask me again after we get a couple of conference series in. I'm not ready to say.
You mean a couple of sweeps? Because we ain't losing, dog. Like, I'm telling you, bro. Like, this might be. Look, the only thing Tony V hasn't done is go undefeated. And that's about to change. I'm trying to be as serious as possible right now. I'm trying to be serious. I ain't pumping brakes.
Look.
Nah, I need you to be a realist for once. Like, I am
being a realist.
No, sir.
I'm being a realist here, okay?
No, sir. No, we are the best.
All right, look, this team definitely has the potential to be better than last year's team. And so far, they have shown it. They're unbelievable from the plate. The pitching staff this year, I do feel like as a whole,
getting AJ Russell back is last year. Huge.
Oh, man.
Huge.
AJ Russell, Dylan Loy, getting both of those back. When AJ Russell is back to full strength, because he's still on a pitch count.
And let's not act like this kid from Ole Miss is not like dealing right now for us. I mean, that dude is on.
Liam Doyle is going to be the pitcher of the year this year.
I mean, he is absolutely and he's not even the guy that's throwing 99, 100 mile an hour, but he can locate his pitches so well. And he is on, like, even at 30-degree rainy weather at Lindsey Nelson, and he's still dealing. And I'm like, man, this guy's got it. I mean, it's exactly what you want to see. Now, we might lose to Radford now that I said we were going to undefeated, but like, that's not the point. Okay. Like, I'm not pumping the brakes. This team, until they show me they ain't, they might be better than last year. I know that's hard to hear. It's too early to say that, of course. Yes. And last year's team literally won the World Series.
They've got the potential, though.
They've got the potential.
I'll leave it at that.
They're decent.
But I'm not ready to say it.
All I'm saying is, if you think that I'm crazy for even mentioning it, watch the team, bro. Watch them.
Oh, I've watched every game so far.
They hit home runs. It's almost automatic. Like, if they go an inning and don't hit a home run, you're like, what the hell? I mean, what's wrong with them? Like, yeah.
And it's up and down the lineup, too. I mean, you're starting off with Dean Curley there. He's got the potential anytime. Gavin Keelan, you mentioned 4 home runs in the Classic, 5 home runs total last week.
And one of them was 2 home runs in the same. Well, they were both 2 home runs, but one of them was back to back. Like, yeah. His 2 at bats were back to, it was, and he's the second batter in the line. I mean, it's not like he's 3 or 4 hole, it's not like he's a leadoff batter.
And the one guy with the most experience right now is the one that I guess you could say is quote unquote struggling with Hunter Inslee. He's not struggling, but when you look at the way everybody else is hitting it, it's like, all right, Hunter, what do you got to do, man?
But I think Hunter's doing exactly what he's there to do.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Hunter's the good old boy that is really good at baseball, but I think he's a little bit hindered in physical. I don't want to say this and sound disrespectful in any way.
He's a little bit hindered in talent compared to some of the others.
That's what I'm looking at. But he's the guy that's going to literally wear his heart on his sleeve and do anything that you need to do.
Absolutely.
And you've seen that in the World Series last year. But he's not the guy that's going to go up there and hit for 30 home runs in a year. He's just not that guy.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
As long as he can put the ball in play, good things will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But Andrew Fisher, his bat's starting to pick up a little bit. I mean, he's got a ton of power. Levi Clark, though, that is
true freshman.
That's the dude, true freshman.
He's come in and hit like 3 pinch hit home runs already.
Yeah, and we already mentioned the one he hit out of the ballpark there in Houston this past weekend.
Out of the ballpark.
Reese Chapman is, he was a guy that he would come in and hit for power, but wasn't really putting the ball in play all that much last year. He's putting the ball in play this year.
Yep.
Reese Chapman is looking really good. Dalton Bargo, when he's in the lineup, is hitting fairly well so far. Jay Abernathy, though, is he's going to be a dude. He's got all the speed in the world. He can put the ball in play. He's got a little bit of power too.
He is actually a sibling and a brother of one Micah Abernathy, who played defensive back for Tennessee Vols.
Okay, that's something I did not know.
I'm pretty positive that's what I heard the other week. There, because he got in and it was like his first time playing, and I'm almost 100% positive they said that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it would make a ton of sense because he kind of resembles him. So
yeah, it definitely would. But I mean,
I know as a brother he would not want to hear that, but I get it. I don't look like my brother.
This team is they're something special, and I can't wait to watch them the rest of the season.
No, Michael, pump your brakes, bro.
I mean, I'm pumping my brakes. I'm not sitting here saying
it kind of sounded like you were.
It
kind of sounded like you weren't pumping the brakes there for a minute. So just trying to keep you in check. Lock in, brother.
Yeah, one more week of non-conference for baseball as they play 2 midweek games this week against Radford and Xavier, both at Lindsey Nelson, and a weekend series against St. Bonaventure. And then you get thrown into the fire, so to speak, next week as you're going up against Florida.
No.
First
Florida gets thrown into the fire,
series.
brother, because we are the best team. So Florida gets thrown in the fire. Let's start changing our verbiage here. We are the best team in the nation, and
I agree.
We are going undefeated.
I mean, it's statistically almost impossible to go undefeated in baseball.
No, it's not.
I mean, if you can't go undefeated in football anymore, you're not going.
There's only one thing Tony V hasn't checked off the box, bro. It's going undefeated.
I'd love to see it.
And they're 11 games closer. So, right? They play 11, maybe. I don't know. So
something like that.
Yep. I'm not pumping the brakes.
I see that. But guys, really appreciate y'all tuning in to the show tonight. Sorry that it wasn't on our usual schedule of
That's
Sunday.
my fault.
Hey, I wasn't going to throw you under the bus. I really hope that you get feeling better this week, man.
Well, the real reason, without throwing me under the bus, is we wanted to just see where the dominoes fell for the women's bracket, and we didn't want to come. It totally wasn't that I was sick and couldn't make it. Totally not.
But no, really hope you get to feeling better this week, man. And if you don't mind, guys, go to the YouTube page, give us a like and subscribe. We are 3 subscribers away from 400 subs on YouTube. So try to hit that 400 number, really pushing to try to get to 500 and beyond. We're just 2 Vol fanatics. That's why
right.
we call it the Vol Fanatics Show, just trying to deliver our love of the Vols to all of you. But really appreciate you guys tuning in today. Appreciate all the support that you've given us. And Skylar, you got anything else before we finish off this show?
I just want to thank everybody that tuned in, watched the show. We appreciate you. We are nothing without you. And also want to thank our sponsors for continuing to support us. As really without them, we wouldn't really, I don't think, have the motivation other than just the want to go live every week like we do. So we're going to continue to bring this content to you as long as you guys keep interacting. We appreciate it. And, man, it's getting close to tournament time, man. But the men have some more work to do to lock down that number 1 seed. And I'm really, really, really anxious to see how we close out the year. Tuesday, 9:00 Eastern. Let's lock in and beat Ole Miss. It's going to be a big game. Big game.
Yep. Ladies got to lock in for the tournament and try to work their way back up to a 4 seed.
Yeah.
In the national tournament.
It's a busy week, man. Tuesday, you got 2 games, right? You've got the men's baseball and basketball teams going at it tomorrow night. Wednesday, like you mentioned, we got the Lady Vols going at it for the SEC tournament. And then
another baseball game.
And then Thursday, God forbid the women's win. They're playing again Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I believe. I mean, we got games going crazy between basketball, baseball. So, I mean, yeah, it's a busy week on Rocky Top. And Karen comes in and says, go Vols. That's how we should end every show right there. So I like it. Go Vols.
That's right. Go Big Orange, guys.
Let's get it.